The humid night in Taipei is shattered by the sudden wail of air raid sirens, slicing through the darkness and jolting the city from its uneasy sleep. In an instant, the familiar calm is replaced by a sense of dread that spreads like wildfire. Phones across the city buzz and vibrate with a chilling alert. Missile attack imminent. Seek shelter immediately. The message flashes on screens, its urgency undeniable, as millions realize this is not a test or a false alarm. Disbelief turns to terror as explosions echo from the coast, lighting up the horizon with bursts of fire. This is not a drill. The distant thunder of artillery and the sharp crack of missiles shatter any lingering hope that this could be a mistake. Families scramble for safety, grabbing children, pets, and whatever essentials they can carry. In the chaos, parents clutch their loved ones, rushing to underground shelters, stairwells, and subway stations, desperate for protection. The city's familiar sounds are replaced by chaos, shouts, sirens, and the pounding of feet on pavement. Emergency vehicles weave through panicked crowds, their lights painting the night in frantic flashes of red and blue. Streaks of light cut the sky, missiles and interceptors locked in a deadly dance overhead. The air is thick with tension as air defense systems roar to life, launching countermeasures in a desperate attempt to shield the city. Digital billboards flash red warnings, their urgent messages reflected in the wide eyes of citizens. The city is thrust into a new, terrifying reality where every second counts and every decision could mean life or death. The invasion, once a distant fear discussed in whispers and news reports, is now happening. Shock and disbelief ripple through the population as the unthinkable becomes real. For Taiwan's people, survival is all that matters. In crowded shelters, strangers become neighbors, united by fear and the instinct to protect their families. The vibrant society, once alive with laughter and light, is plunged into a fight for existence. Streets that bustled with life just hours ago now lie deserted, littered with abandoned cars and belongings. Shock gives way to grim determination. Faces once filled with fear now harden with resolve as people prepare to endure whatever comes next. The world watches in real time, newsrooms buzzing with urgent updates. But for 23 million Taiwanese, this is not a headline or a distant conflict. It is their reality, unfolding minute by minute. As dawn breaks over a tense Taipei, the first light reveals a city forever changed. Exhausted civilians emerge from shelters, uncertain of what the new day will bring. The moment leaders dreaded for decades has arrived. In war rooms and crisis meetings, decisions are made that will shape the fate of a nation. Geopolitics fade into the background, only survival remains. Families ration supplies, comfort one another, and cling to hope in the darkness. The city that never sleeps is now wide awake, facing its darkest hour. Every corner, every street is marked by uncertainty and fear. Nothing will ever be the same. The scars of this night will linger, etched into the memory of a city and its people as they begin the long struggle for survival and freedom. Why does Taiwan matter so much? For Beijing, it's a matter of national destiny. Reunification is non-negotiable. For the world, Taiwan is a thriving democracy, a counterpoint to authoritarianism. The US and its allies see defending Taiwan as defending global values. Allowing its fall would signal that might makes right, undermining decades of fragile peace. Taiwan is also the heart of the global semiconductor industry, producing most of the world's advanced microchips. A war here would cripple technology supply chains, triggering a global economic crisis. Taiwan is a geopolitical fault line, where superpower ambitions and the future of democracy collide. Its fate is tied to global security, economic stability, and freedom. This is not a regional dispute. It's a crisis that could touch everyone. The roots of today's crisis go back to 1949, when the Chinese Civil War ended. This pivotal moment in history marked the division of China into two separate entities, each claiming legitimacy over the other. The Communists took control of the mainland, establishing the People's Republic of China, while the Nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek, fled to Taiwan. Both sides claimed to be the true government of China, setting the stage for decades of tension. For decades, the US recognized Taiwan as the legitimate government of China. However, in 1979, a significant shift occurred when the US switched its diplomatic recognition to Beijing, acknowledging the People's Republic of China as the official government. The US adopted a policy known as strategic ambiguity. This meant acknowledging Beijing's claim over Taiwan, but also insisting that any unification between the two be achieved peacefully, without the use of force. Through the Taiwan Relations Act, the U.S. continues to supply Taiwan with defensive weapons, ensuring its ability to defend itself. However, the act stops short of promising direct military intervention in the event of a conflict. Over the years, Taiwan has transformed into a vibrant democracy, developing a distinct identity that is separate from China. This transformation has been marked by democratic elections and a thriving civil society. Most Taiwanese people reject the idea of being ruled by Beijing's Communist Party. Public opinion surveys consistently show a strong preference for maintaining their current status or even moving towards formal independence. China, however, views this growing sense of independence as a significant threat, considering it a red line that must not be crossed. The Chinese government has repeatedly stated its determination to prevent any move towards formal independence. Beijing has vowed to prevent formal independence by force if necessary, conducting military exercises and showcasing its military might as a warning. The impasse remains. China sees Taiwan as a lost territory that must be reunified with the mainland, while Taiwan views itself as a sovereign nation with its own government and way of life. The standoff is deeply rooted in history, but the stakes are higher than ever, with potential global implications. The world finds itself caught in the middle of this complex geopolitical issue, as global powers navigate the delicate balance between supporting Taiwan's democracy and managing relations with China. The Taiwan Strait is more volatile than ever. Under Xi Jinping, China has modernized its military and made reunification central to its national vision. Chinese jets and warships now regularly test Taiwan's defenses, simulating invasion and blockade. The U.S.-Taiwan relationship has deepened, provoking Beijing and fueling a dangerous cycle of escalation. Meanwhile, global attention is elsewhere, on Ukraine, the Middle East, creating a window of opportunity for China. All these factors have created a perfect storm. The risk of miscalculation sparking a wider conflict is dangerously high. A Chinese invasion would begin with a sudden missile barrage, targeting Taiwan's defenses and command centers. Cyber attacks would cripple communications and infrastructure, sowing chaos. Chinese warships would blockade the island, cutting off supplies and reinforcements. Special forces might target key leaders and infrastructure. The goal shock and demoralize Taiwan into surrender before help arrives. The hardest phase, an amphibious assault, would see PLA troops crossing the treacherous strait, facing fierce resistance. Taiwan's porcupine strategy would make every beach and city a deadly obstacle. The U.S. would face a monumental decision: intervene and risk war with China, or stand aside and risk losing credibility. Japan and other allies could be drawn in, turning a regional fight into a global conflict. The invasion of Taiwan would not stay local, it would shake the world. The first missile over Taiwan forces the world to choose sides. The U.S. must decide intervene and risk nuclear war, or stand back and lose global leadership. Allies like Japan and Australia would be pressured to join, as their security is directly tied to Taiwan's fate. China would likely target U.S. bases in Japan, drawing more countries into the fight. Europe would condemn the invasion and impose sanctions, but economic ties to China would make this painful. Many nations might try to stay neutral, unwilling to be caught in a superpower clash. The UN would be paralyzed by China's veto. The world would split into rival camps, reminiscent of the Cold War, but with deeper economic entanglements. The global order would fracture, perhaps permanently. War in Taiwan would instantly halt global semiconductor production. TSMC's advanced chips power everything from phones to cars. Without them, industries worldwide would grind to a halt. The Taiwan Strait, a vital shipping lane, would become a war zone, disrupting global trade and driving up costs. Shortages and inflation would ripple across the globe. Financial markets would panic. Stock prices would plummet. Sanctions and counter-sanctions would weaponize supply chains and critical resources. The economic shock would trigger a global recession, with job losses and shortages everywhere. The cost would be felt in every household, not just on the battlefield. A war over Taiwan could mean a worldwide depression. The crisis could end in three ways, each with global consequences. First, a swift Chinese victory, overwhelming Taiwan before allies can respond, shattering faith in U.S. security guarantees. Second, a long, grinding war of attrition, with Taiwan resisting, allies intervening, and the world economy in crisis, risking escalation to nuclear conflict. Third, a negotiated settlement after heavy fighting, with neither side fully satisfied and the core issues unresolved. Each path brings immense human and economic costs. A quick victory would embolden authoritarianism. A long war would devastate economies and risk global catastrophe. A fragile peace would leave tensions simmering for the next crisis. There are no easy answers, only hard choices and high stakes. Preventing war is the only way to avoid disaster. The fate of Taiwan is a test for the world. Will the future be shaped by sheer force, or will the principles of self-determination and democracy ultimately prevail? This question is not just about one island, but about the values that guide the international community in the 21st century. Every move by Beijing, Taipei, and Washington carries enormous risk, with each decision sending ripples across the globe. The eyes of the world are watching, as leaders weigh their options and consider the consequences of their actions. The greatest danger is miscalculation. Small steps, misunderstandings, or even a single misjudged action could spiral into all-out war. The Taiwan Strait has become one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints, where tensions can escalate in an instant. Diplomacy and clear communication are essential to avoid catastrophe. Only through dialogue, trust building, and a willingness to listen can the threat of conflict be reduced and a peaceful future secured. For Taiwan's people, this is not an abstract debate. It's about survival, freedom, and the preservation of their unique way of life. Every day, ordinary citizens live with uncertainty, hoping for peace but preparing for the worst. Their resilience and courage deserve respect, but their fate should not be decided by war or by distant powers. The world owes it to them to seek solutions that honor their voices and aspirations. Preventing conflict requires collective effort. China must value peace over conquest, recognizing that true strength lies in restraint and dialogue, not in force. The United States must balance deterrence with dialogue, showing resolve but also openness to negotiation, understanding that stability is built on both strength and wisdom. And the world must speak with one voice for stability and peace. The future is unwritten, and the responsibility to shape it rests with all nations. The choices made now will decide if Taiwan's story is one of tragedy or hope, of devastation or renewal. The stakes could not be higher for the people of Taiwan and for the world. The world stands at a crossroads. Peace or war hangs in the balance. What happens next will echo for generations to come.